So we're going to be looking at factorising quadratic equations today. I have created another video on expanding equations, so check that out if you're not overly confident in expanding, because it will help you when factorising if you know how to do that. And we are starting off with a really basic equation today, so I have created 2 more videos with using negative numbers and also using coefficients and variables, so check out those videos as well if that's more what you're after. But starting really basic, we've got our equation here, which is x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now, when you're looking at factorising equations, this end number here, number 5, you're going to need to work out what the factors are. So what 2 numbers times together to make the number 5? In this case, it's quite simple. But whatever numbers you have, they also need to add up to make the number 6 in this scenario. So bear that in mind when you're working through your equation, that whatever factors that you're writing down, if they don't add up to make the number 6, then they're not the right numbers to use. So let's start by writing down our brackets, drawing down our brackets, and then start factorising. So the first thing we're going to look at is this x squared. Now, what does x squared mean? X squared means that it's x that's times by itself. That means that we know, therefore, that there's going to be an x at the start of both of these brackets. Quite simple. So we've already got the first thing done. The next thing we're going to look at is that number 5. What factors make the number 5? Now, in this case, it's a prime number. So it's only divisible by itself on 1, so therefore we know that that's going to be our only option. However, with different numbers, obviously you're going to have more options to work through. So let's write this down. What are we going to be working with? So we're going to be working with 5 multiplied by 1 and 1 multiplied by 5. Now, it's really important that we write that down both ways. Because sometimes, especially if you're working with negative numbers, if you haven't got those numbers the right way around in your brackets and you're starting to check your work through, even though you've got the right numbers, you might not be getting the right answers because they are in the wrong place. So it's really important that we write those both ways. Okay, so let's go back to this. We know that we're going to be working with 5 and 1 because if we multiply them together, it makes 5, and if we add them together, it makes 6. So let's put these in our brackets then and we can check. So we know it's going to be a plus 5 and a plus 1. Why do we know it's a plus 5 and a plus 1? Because we're not working with negative numbers, so we know it's going to be a plus. Sometimes if you're working with negative numbers, you'd be writing a minus there. Okay, now we've filled out our brackets, we're just going to check and make sure that these are the correct answers. So we're going to expand. To do this, we're going to multiply everything in the second bracket by everything in the first bracket. So let's double check. So we've got x multiplied by x, which we know is x squared. We've then got x multiplied by 1, which we know is x. We're then going to multiply everything by 5. So we've got 5 multiplied by x, which is 5x. Again, it's not a negative number, so we know it's a plus there. And then we've got 5 multiplied by 1, which we know is 5. So you've expanded our brackets, and now we're just going to simplify it back down. And if we end up with the same answer that we started with, then we know our brackets are correct. So let's simplify this back down. We've got x squared, it's the only thing there with an indices, so we know that it's on its own, it's just going to be x squared. Now let's look at the x's. We've got an x, which we know is 1x, and we've got 5x. If we add those together, we're going to get 6x. And then we've got the 5 on its own, which is 5. So our answer, because it matches our original equation, we now know that those brackets are correct. If our answer hadn't matched it, we know that those numbers inside the brackets are incorrect, and we need to either try swapping them round or we need to try new numbers. And that's the basics of factorising quadratic equations.